I see one of my favorite representatives is here today. Celia, if you would like to speak with us today. Tell us what's going on in your campaign and in your special efforts that you're making.
Yeah, well, good morning, everybody. My special effort is nothing short of just making a little bit of history here in Texas. You guys know it's been 20 years since Democrats have held control of the Texas House, and you've seen the tortured result of that, of not having the gavel, is us doing damage to the body and doing damage to our reputation as a state, fighting over who gets to go into whose bathroom. Last session, we were cloaking hatred with religious freedom, and it's been horrible. And I always say I'm an Ann Richards Democrat, which means I try to have a sense of humor. And what's been happening in the legislature is not normal. We can't accept it as normal, and it's the same trajectory that our country is on. We cannot accept that bullying and hatred and division is the Texas way. So about a year ago, just to get a little bit basic with you, the House of Representatives has a Democratic caucus, and one of the functions of that caucus is to have a separate PAC to protect and grow our numbers. So I'm the chair of the House Democratic Campaign Committee. That's the name of the PAC, and been doing this about a year now, and we're doing great. We thought we had a budget of about $5.5 million, and we thought, how can we do it? Well, let's stretch ourselves. Well, I can tell you, we've raised $8.4 million.
Woo!
Yeah. And it freaks me out. I mean, if you look around the state, follow us on Twitter, you'll see 2 years ago, if we were having this conversation, we would have said, wow, we might flip 6 seats in the Texas House. Isn't that cool? Well, we flipped 12 damn seats in the Texas House. And some of it was by candidates who ran a campaign on duct tape and their savings accounts. And that hurts my heart. So what this time around, we've got over 20 races that we're focused on.
Excellent.
We need to flip 9 seats, and we get the gavel back. I can tell you those races are all fully funded, and I mean full as a tick funded. They got direct mail, they got digital, and in an unprecedented year, we are all of them have TV budgets.
Oh my gosh, that's
so that doesn't happen in state rep races. It's highly unusual in a state rep race to have TV wars. We're having TV wars all over the state. Dallas, Houston, Erin Zwiener, we provided her for TV support for her cute little ads of her being mucking the stalls, as you've seen those ads.
Yeah, I have, and I really like Erin. I worked with her when she first came out. The wonderful lady.
Yeah, so we got to protect Erin, protect Busey, protect Tallarico. We've got Dallas and Houston reps that flipped a seat, and what's happening across the state is, we redistricted in a horrible way as usual, which is the Texas way.
Yes.
And I'll tell you that in the Tarrant County, we've got 5 state rep races, and a couple of them are outliers, but 3 of them are in really great shape. So we did polling, and we're pulling in money from all over the country. Most of our money, about 80% of our money, is coming from Texas. It's nice to see Texans believing in Texas again. And normally we give our money to every, Tom, Dick, and Kennedy who comes through and says, hey, I'm running for stuff and I need your money. Well, this time around, we're making the case that if you love Texas, keep your money here and we'll make history here. So it's pretty exciting. I'll point out my campaign manager and the deputy executive director of the House Democratic Campaign Committee is Justin Perez, who's also joining us here in the room. So if you guys have any questions for us about what we've been up to, it's phenomenal what's been going on. We're the behind the scenes organization that's making sure these state reps have everything that they need: training, messaging, money, so that they can show up well.
Yeah, that is fantastic, and I've been following you, and I'm so proud of what you're doing, and I honestly think that you're doing better than what the Texas Democratic Party is doing. It's just so much personal outreach, supporting the candidates, which I am encouraging our NETCoDems to support our candidates here in this area rather than, concentrating on a coordinated campaign or any of that. Work for the candidate you can vote for. And that, because I want to ensure that Mike Siegel, Rick Kennedy, Julie Oliver, these people are going to get in their positions because we need that.
Yeah. Well, if you look at a map of Texas and look at a map of the House races that we're focused on, about 75% of that area is also covered by contested congressional races. So it's really beautiful. It makes me feel good, of course, when Texans vote, but it really makes me feel good when Republicans and Democrats are having to pay attention to that November voter. And that's the beauty of this country. And I was looking through Twitter this morning, and to see my Republican colleagues masked up and having to go and do the nuts and bolts of campaigning in October is a good thing. They should be woken up. So we feel really good. All indications are that our candidates are in really great shape, and it doesn't help, of course, that Donald Trump keeps pulling to the right instead of being the president for everybody, and a governor who keeps pulling to the right instead of being the governor for everybody. So we got to keep up the voting and just keep encouraging everybody. What the momentum that we're getting, let's not lose it when it comes to voting. They clearly don't want us to vote, so let's get all of our cousins and our coworkers and everybody to go out and vote early.
Yeah, this is the first time in my entire life that I've had to fight to vote. I mean, unreal. Just, and I have on my calendar that early voting started on the 19th. I know the governor gave us an extra week, but the 19th is my day to go vote. So just telling all of you, that's the day. Justin, did you want to add anything to what Celia said?
Well, I will brag about Representative Isreal on her because she probably doesn't do a good enough job, but we've heard from several former members and current members that the HDCC is an organization now that it's never been in the past. We've raised over $8 million for this effort. That's not public yet. And so I think it's kind of an honor to take the ride with her, but she's put together a really great team, and all indications, all polling, all of our internal numbers indicate that we really can and are on a path to flipping the Texas House. And it's a really exciting thing, mainly because we can stop a lot of bad, right? We'll still have a governor and a Senate in place that is problematic, but hopefully, and this does happen in the Texas legislature, there's a lot of important bipartisan work that happens. And if we're able to flip the chamber, I mean, everyone in this room will see the results of that, and everyone in this room has done some work that's a part of that, and it's exciting. So we feel really, really good about what we're going to see in November.
Yeah, and I would like to see this thing continue and move forward for the next 2 years, and NETCoDems would like to be a part of it, a little more active in it than we have been so far, because we've kind of spread ourselves too thin. Brigid, I think you had your hand up. I lost your picture here. You moved off, but are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm showing up on video on my version.
Yeah.
Kind of following on what Justin was saying, I think Celia might be a little modest on some of the stuff, because I've heard from other people that she personally recruited a number of candidates to run for these positions where I don't know the full history, but my impression was where Democrats had rarely ever run because they just didn't think they had a chance. So can you talk a little bit about that, Celia? I'd love to
Yeah,
hear more
sure.
about how you know these folks.
Yeah, it's amazing. I feel really good because I've been there before, right? Many of you helped me when I first ran, and now my district has become more and more Democratic. And I guess Justin, let's give them the example of Kiki Williams, who Justin's been working with Kiki Williams. If you haven't heard, there's a House district up in the Killeen Fort Hood area. It's majority minority. Kiki Williams is an African American retired captain from the Army, and she retired last fall. Decided to run in the last days of the filing deadline. She didn't know how to run a campaign, but she knew how to follow her heart, and that's what we've been encouraging her. And so Justin and the party and labor leaders kind of met with her, talked to her, made sure she felt fully supported, and we've been going the extra mile for Kiki. She didn't have staff support. She didn't, she needed messaging help. So she's got TV ads, and she's got fully funded direct mail and full team. But this is a district that Representative Buckley, Republican, has, and they weren't ready. They weren't ready for us to come, to put it in military terms, guns ablazing, and they've been on their heels since. But Kiki, of course, has served in the military. We have the chance to elect 2 women to the House that have worn this country's uniform. We've never had military veterans before. Justin, what else can we talk about for Kiki's race? You were involved from early stages with her.
I just dropped in the chat. Kiki texted me this morning. This article she's featured in the USA Today.
Oh, wow. National media. That's awesome.
She's an amazing candidate. The rep is right. One of the things we did is we worked with allies to come together and recruit candidates like Kiki. We drove up to Killeen to sit down and meet with her. And it was, I have been with her every step of the way. She's never run a campaign. She doesn't usually get involved in politics. She was just a community organizer. Her first big venture into activism that didn't involve the military was organizing a Stop the Violence march in downtown Killeen. And so she's just a great person who she's the folks in line at these polling locations are chanting her name in front of the opponent. And folks are kind of just thirsty for this sort of candidate. So we're really excited about Kiki and about being able to support her. We have what we call regional political directors. So one's assigned to every single candidate who's running in these competitive seats. And they help with everything from cutting lists in van and organizing block walks to making sure the commercials that we cut for them and produce for them have been reviewed by our pollsters. It's just every aspect of a campaign that you think it's like congressional level quality. So we're really excited about what we've been able to do. The rep was like, she's on TV. Again, the rep being modest. She's running a $750,000, possibly $1 million campaign with $400,000 on television and full digital program, leafleting in the district that's safe during COVID. And she also gets comms support from our comms director and is regularly texting me and several other people at other organizations that have done this for a long time. And so it's really exciting. Julie Oliver, I see someone has been working with Kiki. They've been coordinating as well to the extent that's legal. And it's exciting to see all these campaigns get together. I voted on Thursday and I got to vote for Julie. So I was really excited about that. And Sandra, I agree. We got to work for both of these people, for everyone in our districts as well. And those races are real too. Mike Siegel and Julie Oliver's races are real too. And the great thing about the HDCC is that we have so many House districts under these competitive congressional districts. And even in Colin Allred's, which we've won, and Lizzie Fletcher's, which we've won in Houston, there's a bunch of seats that we can flip below them. So all the work we're doing at the federal and state level just helps all the more. And I think it's something like 75% of our races are under a competitive congressional district. So it's exciting.
It is terribly exciting. And I think it's the first time that Texas has been in such an uproar about voting. It's just, you can just almost sense it in the air, you know. And of course, when I wear my mask, which you all, you know, saw earlier, what did I do with that? You must have one of these, but you wear it out, and it's amazing the people that will respond to you. Now, there's some that will look, you know, like, oh my God, you know, but they got their MAGA hats on, so we know who they are. But the rest of everybody is like, yeah, there you go. Okay. You gotta let them know that you're here, and that those that used to be afraid, there were a lot of people that I met coming when I first came here, simply afraid to let everybody know they might be voting Democratic. They wouldn't put a sign in their yard because they get gunshots in their front door. And I don't know if you remember this. I told this story one time when I first went to Hayes County to Dripping Springs to talk to a young lady about doing organizing in her area. When I came outside, next to my Obama sticker on my car was a bullet hole in my bumper. Welcome to Texas. Absolutely. So I know, and when I went out into the counties talking to these people, I know that they were afraid, and I had to encourage them. I said, if you let somebody else know you're a Democrat, believe it or not, you'll find that they are too. And it just is spreading like it's...
No, the one urban area in Texas that has not, it went for Beto 2 years ago, but is not reliably blue, is Tarrant County. Tarrant County, as I mentioned, has 5 state rep seats, and they're all up on TV and doing their thing. And imagine being a Democrat in Tarrant County and being like, whoa, what the hell's going on? You know? So this is what we do, right? We move in 2-year cycles. We work the fields and find those progressives, and it's pretty exciting. I'm doing, as I mentioned, I'm doing this because we are not living in normal times, but normal times are around the corner. We've got to get back there, and we've got to believe in the goodness of this country and the greatness of this state. The Democrats, I guarantee you, are prioritizing Medicaid expansion. Rep Busey and I have the bill that would follow in the Missouri model, which is take it to the voters. If you don't have the spine to do it yourselves, take it to the voters. Now we're in the minority of states that have not taken back our federal dollars to insure Texans, and now we're in a pandemic. So let's put the pressure. Let's put that bill on the lap of the Senate and on the desk of the governor, if we can. And the way we do that is by voting.
Absolutely.
2 years ago, we voted at near presidential levels, and we spent $6 billion in public ed and a lot of other supports for public ed. That didn't happen out of the goodness of Republicans' hearts. That happened because Texans voted in big numbers. So imagine this winter, as Republicans are planning their approach to dealing with a Democratic Speaker of the House. They've got to factor in the voters have awoken. And I'm very disappointed that the governor keeps pandering to the extreme wing of his party.
We just have to replace him, Celia. That's all there is to it.
I know, but the votes really, really matter. I know people are griping about the Electoral College, and I get that, but the swell of voting that we're feeling in Texas is going to be what helps us push things through. Imagine if we put online voter registration on Governor Abbott's desk. That's a nonpartisan issue. Our county elections officials, as Brigid knows, counties are stressed right now from getting beat up by the governor and getting pushed on. You know, all this stuff that Dana's office is having to do and Chris Holland's office in Houston is having to do, that ain't cheap. 24-hour voting centers, more locations, more hours. The safety equipment that goes along with it. There's no grant from the state that goes along with that, or for the feds for that matter. We are having to do that from our own local coffers. And I'm really proud. Every county in Texas every county elections official is doing a little bit extra because of COVID. And so it's exciting to watch. But we have an opportunity to be that counterbalance to the Senate and to the governor, and say there's a mainstream voice in Texas that's going to be heard, and it's going to come through the Texas House of Representatives.
You know, Rep, we should tell the Harris County story. And a lot of folks are shocked that Harris County is voting at record setting levels. And what a lot of people don't know is that under Republican control, early voting was from 10 p.m. to 4:30 or 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And basically no one could show up during the day. They had to be at work. So early voting was not an option in Harris County, which made election day voting nearly impossible. And there were 40. David Albert just posted that they doubled their voting centers. They tripled them. There were 40 voting centers. There are 120 now. And it was blatant voter suppression, and it worked, because on election day the lines were too long for the average Texan to go and vote. And now you see, just extending the hours, doing the right thing, having accessible locations, the folks in Harris County are able to vote. They want to vote. And it is going to change so much for the state when an area that has 4 million people actually provides accessible voting to Texans. So it's just, that's how important our local elections, right? And you all know that. Sandra mentioned, like, working on these local elections has major effects. I am so excited to see. I think Harris County will continue these numbers through election day, and people are going to be stunned because people finally have access to vote.
That's great. Carol, you've had your hand up forever. What would you like to say?
Well, I wanted to see if there were other numbers nerds out there. Just looking at Travis County, over 186,000 mail-in votes have come in, and over 154,000 have voted in early voting. I'm working the ballot board, started last week, and I think these next 2 to 3 weeks, we're going to be working 2 shifts a day, and to try to handle that, because it's a multi-step process to verify and process those mail-in ballots. But, we're signature verifying between 8 and 10,000 a day.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, thanks for doing what you're doing.
You're welcome.
A number that I have from our staff meeting. This is an old figure. I think this is as of Thursday. 2.3 million Texans voted, and to put it in context, in the last election, 8.9 million Texans voted in total. So just at the beginning of early vote, and we got to temper our energy, right? Because these are a lot of partisans on both sides who are going to crawl over crushed glass in order to vote. But I firmly believe we build up the positive energy around voting, and our county elections officials have the systems in place to make it move as smooth as possible. We're going to blow that record out of the water. 8.9 million in 2018. We can do this.
Excellent. I believe, David, you're next to question.
Thank you. You're doing a great job. So this is more of a little bit of speculation or looking forward. Most of what the shift we're seeing is suburban, it seems, the suburban districts around the cities, both congressional, Texas House. We saw it in 2018, and it appears we're headed that way now. Do you think we're seeing an anti-Trump wave, or a permanent realignment, or some combination of both? I'm looking at 22 and the statewide. Will that still be there? Will the suburban women that everyone talks about, still be Democratic voters, or are they going to, when Trump is, gone, and maybe the Republican Party starts to sound a little less insane, are they going to snap back to, we want lower taxes or something?
It's going to be interesting to watch, David. I'll give you an example. There's a Fort Worth race that is very interesting. Alyssa Simmons, African-American woman, president of the NAACP, accomplished community credential small business person. She just got endorsed by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram over Tony Tinderholt. Tinderholt, at the beginning, as we were getting ready for the last session, November, December, we're all getting our bills together, getting our ideas together. He was chomping at the bit to file the bill that would outlaw abortion in every case, including rape and incest. And he did. He filed the bill. They mentioned that in the editorial this morning, that that's too extreme for this district. He's out of touch with the district, and they endorsed Alyssa Simmons over Tony Tinderholt. So I give you that as a backdrop, because I'm wondering, are they still going to take that chum? Are they still going to want to be the most farthest to the right so that they can show that March voter? Look at what a great Republican I am. We'll see. Justin, what are your thoughts on that question, on the turnout for 2 years from now?
So folks like to talk about the sleeping giant in Texas, right? About Hispanic voters and other voters of color. And I think there's no easy answer. The other tendency, like working with our pollsters, the one thing we've noticed about these districts is, yes, they've shifted, and it's not just middle-aged white women who may be leaving because of Trump. It is that these districts are much younger and they are much more diverse. But there's a double-edged sword there. Our party has a lot of work to do with young Hispanics and young African Americans. They are not as loyal as older Hispanics and older African Americans to our party for several reasons. And so we have a lot of inner searching and a lot of work to do as a party to make sure that those demographics stick with us and understand the policies and issues that we care about, and also bring those voices into the fold and support those ideas and work together as a coalition. So that's the trends that we've noticed, is just young, and diverse. And that's what's happening across our whole state, but specifically in all of these flip districts, they're the ones that are growing the fastest. They're the ones that have the highest rates of voter registration. And long term, our goal will just have to be to include those folks in the process. And
it seems historically those are the ones who don't come out in the midterms. It's easier that, in this big presidential wave, they're coming out, and I'm afraid in 2 years it's going to be much more difficult. And I think what you're saying is right. We have to find a way to keep that. I think of 1994 and 2010 and the sort of the snapbacks, and that's what I'm. I know it's 2 years from now. We're not even through this cycle, but I'm just trying to, think about how do we convert them, in a more permanent realignment.
I would like to make a comment on that too, because I've been thinking about what might happen as we move forward. The organization that Celia has going, plus our clubs, I think we can have a big impact on the party, which needs to address these things. So the party itself has fallen short, I feel. And I expected, when they appointed or elected the new leader, I expected some changes, and I didn't see them. I don't see any big moving efforts on the part of the Democratic Party to really bring people together. And that's why I've kind of I've kind of pulled away from the party, both the Travis County and the Texas, just because I think we can do better working locally. And because I just don't see them doing anything any different. And you got to be different now. Times are different. People are different. We got to appeal to those young people. And as far as I can see, the party has no appeal to young people. That's just my opinion.
One of the big structural changes that's going to happen 2 years from now is if we don't fumble the ball, is redistricting. So my lines are going to be different. The neighborhoods that I am used to representing may not be my neighborhoods anymore.
I had another question for Celia and Justin. Do you think that the Republican push to get rid of straight party voting will have much of an impact? I know there was a lot of concern earlier. I haven't heard as much talk about it lately. I'd love your thoughts on it, and if there's anything that we can do, to really encourage people to go all the way down the ballot and vote for all the Democrats.
All the way down.
I can tackle it first, and then I'll let the rep jump in. I was the interim executive director for a few months before we did our national search. For the executive director, and one of the first things I did was fly to DC for a training with the DLCC, which is the Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee, and they're like our our upper organization that supports us. They've given us $1 million, sort of thing, and they put on trainings for directors and staff that run these sorts of organizations. And my only question was, who is in another state that's lost straight ticket voting? How did it affect you? And what do you do? And that's what I wanted to be. That's what I wanted my takeaway to be, because it's something that doesn't happen often, but it happened in Michigan. And everyone, and we looked at data from the Analyst Institute, which works on best practices and studies what works on campaigns to actually move people and get out the vote for a candidate and or the party. And what everyone said was, it's not about a message that's like vote blue all the way down or do any. It's about how much communication you do for a specific candidate, so that person goes down ballot to find that candidate. So if we're talking Brigid Shea, she needs to get in front of that voter 1 million times and do layered touches on the phone, via text, at the door, through the mail, on TV. And that is what we've done effectively for every single one of our candidates. They know there's a state. If you live in one of those districts, you have seen a little ad on your phone. You have gotten, I kid you not, 40 mail pieces in some of these districts, because there's IE expenditures happening in these districts as well. You've seen it on your Facebook, you've seen it on your Instagram, you've seen it while you're watching your Hulu, and you've also seen it while you're watching broadcast network TV. So it is just, the layered touch is immeasurable in these districts. They're truly, what we're doing is just making sure that we amplify and run really professional campaigns that are based in the polling that we did. So one of the things the HDCC did was put together a polling consortium with really big allies like Annie's List and the party and labor and other groups. And we all pitched in to do $1 million polling consortium. And we have about 30 races that have a benchmark, which is a full 20-minute test of people who live in the district, 400 surveys in the district, to learn about what messaging worked in the district, about where the candidates stood, and what moved voters who were on the fence. And then we've hyper-targeted using that messaging to all of those voters. And so it really is, it's a targeted campaign to each individual voter that will get them to go down ballot. That's the best way.
And we've never had that before.
Awesome. That is really awesome.
Debbie has a question.
This is Debbie Bryant from Rick Kennedy's campaign. And what you're talking about, layered touching as a campaigning, that increases the cost of campaigning enormously.
Yeah.
40 touches, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So what you're doing right then is you're eliminating a whole group of people who can't become candidates because they don't have access to that kind of money.
Exactly.
That's a huge impact.
And one of the things that we need to do is campaign finance reform. It's something that's really important to me. Representative Isreal serves on the elections committee, and I cover that committee in her office. And we have to have campaigns funded by our government. Like we have to advance ourselves in extreme ways. We have to get rid of gerrymandering. There are things that we have to do that make the process a lot more fair and a lot more accessible. I don't know how Representative Isreal makes it as a realtor who basically cannot run her business while she does this and as a state representative. You're entirely right that it is unaccessible. Teachers cannot run for the Texas House. There is no salary, so you do not get a salary, and you would have to make 6 months of work, and there's a school district that would allow for that to happen. The young working mothers, rare, far and few in between. People who are like everyday Texans can't run for these seats, and it's a huge, huge problem. You're entirely right, and it's something that I'm really passionate about and love working on, and love working with Representative Isreal because she's always down to put down the progressive legislation and lay a marker.
Well, I'm passionate about Texas, and I'm passionate about winning. And I started our conversation this morning with money because I'm not going to get out hustled and outworked by my Republican friends who have deep pockets. So we're not going to match them dollar for dollar, but we're gonna run robust professional campaigns that cost shit tons of money. And so that my focus, our team focus was just raising money because we know that's what it took. And then that money begets more money because the nationals look at you and go like, okay, well, they know what they're doing. Let's just give them the money. So it's been, we've seen a lot of success because I'm following my intuition. I'm not a prolific fundraiser. I'm following my heart, but I knew that at this stage of the game, and we've seen some big money come in the last couple of weeks. Texas is sexy and trendy, and people are like, well, let's help make some waves in Texas. So I agree, Debbie. We need to do campaign finance reform. It is sad that people, unless they are of means or have a network that they can raise money from, are not able to run for office. But we saw that 2 years ago when Beto ran against Cruz. There was 9 districts that he won those districts. But in those 9 districts, there was good candidates who got outspent, not just 2 to 1. We're talking 10 and 20 to 1. And that hurts my heart because they are good and decent people. Many of them are running again right now. Brandy Chambers is running against Angie Chen Button. She's got hundreds of thousands of dollars from this organization that then beget more money from other people because they're like, well, look, she knows what she's doing. So she's gonna win. We're gonna flip the house because we have given these campaigns the tools that they need to pay for everything that needs to be paid. So it's a sad reality, but I was determined not to enter this and do it without going first class all the way.
And I'm a constant optimist. There are several candidates that are running that are targeted candidates for us who do not make more than $60,000 a year, and we're able to support them. And they are also getting 12,000 donors from across the country who care about these small dollar donations from across the country that care about these races. So there is a way. It's just the infrastructure to build is so hard, but we've built it, and that's exciting.
I just want to go back to this conversation started talking about straight ticket voting, and I just want to go to eliminate that creates this problem of having to do layered touching. So I was just pointing out it's an enormous domino effect to not have straight ticket voting. So I would like to add straight ticket voting to a priority to get that back.
I will say Republicans are worried about not having it either.
Okay,
It's biting them in the butt right now too.
good. Good.
It's a double-edged sword for both of us.
All right.
I like it because it's just a convenience thing, and I don't get the issue really at all. Like, we should make voting more convenient. We have ballots in the state of Texas because we vote on judges, which is a whole nother topic that we should talk about. But our ballots are sometimes 10 pages long. That is exhausting. Voter fatigue is a real thing. You create lines. You also create folks who don't know what they're voting for down ballot. And it gets exhausting for voters too. It's another form of suppression. So you're totally right. The convenience factor should be there, and I would love to bring it back for folks and also let people not do it if they don't want to. It's just a choice.
Okay, we've heard a mention from Rick's campaign a little bit, and we have Murray Huber here from Mike Siegel's campaign. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to mention some of the things that we can do to help out Mike, because our main support is for Julie, Mike, and Rick. So let's hear from Murray.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And hey, everybody, my name is Murray. I am coming to you from the field department of the Mike Siegel campaign. I'm not normally work with this part of the region, but some of you all may know Bravin from our campaign. He's typically the one who is working in this area, but he couldn't be here this morning. I think he's actually out launching a canvas right now, so I'm filling in for him. But first of all, I just want to say thanks for letting me come on. Really great to hear about all the awesome stuff that you all are doing. I am basically just coming here to, kind of give you our field pitch, let you know what's going on in the campaign, and hopefully get some more people even further involved with what we're doing coming up in this final stretch. You already know that it's not enough to just cast our votes, but we also have to step up and do the work that it's going to take to make sure that thousands of other people also vote for Mike. And I know you all are already doing that work. So thank you so much for that. Our campaign is really focusing on having conversations with voters And, we're only 17 days out from the election. Early voting is already happening, of course. So that's why we are, we're feeling this urgency right now. We have to talk to voters as soon as possible. If we wait too long, they're already going to cast their votes. A day can make a difference. So that's why we're just launching tons of efforts to talk to voters in as many ways as possible. This coming weekend, we're going to have a really big weekend of action. And so that's kind of what I'm going to let you all know about, tell you what we're doing for that. So I'm going to drop a couple links in the chat. And alrighty, so this first one is for our Weekend of Action canvases. So if you all want to go ahead and click on that right now and take a look at the shifts we have, it's really easy to sign up. All you have to do is enter your first name, last name, phone number, email, and your zip code, and then you can select the shift that works best for you and go ahead and sign up. You're welcome to sign up tentatively, and we'll just give you a call as it gets closer. You'll get email reminders. This way you won't forget about the event, and then we will remind you what's going on. So basically for our Weekend of Action, we're going to have canvases all day long on Saturday. First one is at 10 a.m., second one at 1 p.m., and the last one at 4 p.m. for the day. Earlier on in the campaign, we weren't really getting out and knocking doors or anything because we were making sure to be really careful. Now that it's gotten so close, we are doing a little bit of door knocking. We're doing it very safely. Everyone's wearing masks and gloves when we meet up. And, in the beginning to go through the training and get our group together, we have all these meetings outside if possible. We stay very socially distanced. So we're following a lot of safety protocols, and it's all very safe. So people are able to knock on doors, and we greatly appreciate it. If you would like to still get out and, be on the doors, but not necessarily have those conversations with voters, you can definitely lit drop as well. So if someone's not comfortable actually knocking and talking to someone face to face, you can still come out and just leave literature on the doors. Again, it's all very safe and makes a huge difference for the campaign. And then we do have another option for people who are not able to get out, which of course is totally understandable during this time period. We're also having phone banking. So I just sent the link for our phone bank shifts for this Weekend of Action. We have shifts at 12 p.m., 3 p.m., and 6 p.m. And our phone calls can all be done from the safety and comfort of your own home. You'll just be, using our dialer system, logging onto your computer. We get on a Zoom call all together, have training. We usually stay on the Zoom call during the phone banks. So if you have questions or technological issues or anything that comes up, we have several campaign staff members who are all there and willing to help you, walk you through it. It's also a lot of fun. We debrief at the end and talk about good conversations we had with voters. So it's a lot of fun. And we also have had a lot of exciting guests come on. Last week we had Beto and Senator Ed Markey joining us. So yeah, I will go ahead and wrap it up because I know you all have more to get to, but just please encourage you to click on those links, sign up for at least 2 shifts, and join us for this Weekend of Action. And we definitely appreciate it. Thank you all so much.
Okay. Debbie also posted for Rick, so you can sign up to work for Rick as well. And it is getting down to the wire.
Sandra, it's Brigid. Can I jump in and ask Murray about something? It's really exciting to me. I had talked with Mike's campaign manager after the primary in Massachusetts, where Ed Markey beat Joe Kennedy. Everybody expected the young Kennedy to win because of the name ID, but Markey has such a great record that the Sunshine Movement and a variety of other progressive young groups got involved, and they launched this massive social media campaign, basically telling young people Markey has been there forever for us, and we need to show up for him. So they turned out a huge youth vote. And I read an online story about it with the results of the election, and it quoted some of the young people who were involved saying, hey, we know how to do this. We know how to engage young people. We're available if you're running for Congress. And so I called Siegel's people immediately and said, hey, do you know about this with Markey's campaign? He said, we've already enlisted them. We've hired them and they're helping on our campaign. So I was really thrilled to hear that. And to me, it demonstrates how much Mike has been hustling. He did it the first time and proved that this district was winnable up against one of the richest members of Congress. And he's doing it again this time. So I'm really thrilled about it. And I wanted to make sure people knew, because to me, that's such an encouraging story. They were right on top of it, and they'd done exactly what they needed to do. So, Murray, are you able to talk at all about some of the social media stuff that you guys are doing, sort of following on what happened with Markey's campaign in Massachusetts?
Sure, yeah. So yeah, like you said, we've had the groups, a lot of those same young groups of young people joining in our campaign. So the Sunrise Movement, like you said, they have been incredibly helpful. They're phone banking with us once a week, every week. It's been going on for quite a while. Sometimes, it's not just the Texas groups, but they get their national movement involved. So we've had phone banks on Wednesdays with like over 100 people, all from the Sunrise Movement, which is all those young people you're talking about, which is incredible. They recently did a video for us, which they've been sending out all across social media. And we've also been, so that's like one of the big social media things that you mentioned. We've also been doing things like enlisting videos of our supporters who want to submit just a quick, casual selfie of themselves, saying why they support Mike. We've been compiling those and sending them out in digital ads and all sorts of things like that. So yeah, it's absolutely what you said. It's been really exciting. Thank you.
Okay, well, our special guest has arrived, and so I would like to give her a welcome and introduce Dana DeBeauvois, and I want to hear what you have to say about what's going on with our elections. Welcome, Dana.
Okay, let's first just talk about the numbers, because I think that's going to give you an idea of just how huge the turnout we're having is. Yesterday, over 41,000 people voted in person. That creates 154,000 people who have been voting since last week in person. We're having a huge turnout, and people really seem to love the hand delivery. It goes really fast. We've got enough capacity, it looks like, and if we need more, there's room to spread out later. So I'm really very excited about that. We have gotten in over 80,000 requests for ballot by mail, and of those, more than 77,000 have already been sent back out with ballots. We have, besides the total for hand delivery, is a little over 11,000 people have driven through hand delivery, and another 31,600 have already come in the mail. So we are having an absolutely fabulous turnout, and so far it's all going pretty smoothly. We have seen some lines, which was a bit of a surprise because we thought we had enough equipment in the field. But it's just this really huge turnout. And so there are times when people have had to wait an hour, and we're really sorry about that. The great news, though, is that voters are spreading themselves out very evenly among all of the polling places. So we're not finding an hours and hours pile on like we used to see at the grocery stores. And that's good news for everybody. Let's see, we are still working on the lawsuit that allows people who get sick at the last minute or who get COVID after October 23rd to be able to vote what's called a hospital ballot. It's a late by mail ballot, but they don't have to get out. They don't have to, walk inside any place. We can just, and it takes a friend to help them tote it back and forth to get all the steps accomplished. So just to let you know, we're working with that lawsuit because I think that probably the court is going to say, no, for this time, you don't have to have a doctor's affidavit in order to qualify for a hospital ballot. Okay, so in terms of our previous turnout, we really are, if we compare this to 2016, and I was going to go back and compare it to 2008 as well, but the 2016 numbers are also very interesting. We're voting about 4,000 to 5,000 people per day more than we did per day in 2016. So it is thrilling to watch, and what I really love about this for voters is they're happy. They want to vote. They chat with each other in line. They're taking care of one another. It really is a very heartwarming thing to see when you go out to visit these locations. Okay, so I guess you had heard actually that we did lose again. Judge Shulock came back and said, yes, you can have more than one hand delivery location. The governor was out of line to cancel them abruptly. And then about 5 minutes later, the Fifth Circuit took it and it stayed. And I'm not anticipating any news that'll be good for voters coming out of the Fifth Circuit. So I think it's dead. We'll just have the one location. But we went from 11 lanes planned downtown to 16 bays up at 5501. So it felt good to beat them at their own game. Okay, so the only other thing that's kind of still hanging out there is that about half of voters out there, at least according to Ballotpedia, think that the virus is about to get worse, and of course they're right. So I'm worried about where we'll be come election day. We're following all of the PPE and protocols that we learned from the July election. You'll see them in the November polling places, and voters seem to feel like it is safe. So we'll keep sending that message and still keep harping on everybody. Wear a mask, socially distance. Voters don't have to touch anything because we have the little finger coverings and the popsicle sticks to actually touch the equipment with to make your choices. So let me stop right there and give you guys an opportunity to ask questions because I want to make sure I hit what you want to hear about.
Sandra, this is Brigid. Hi, Dana.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I have been hearing from folks who have sent in their application for a mail-in ballot and they haven't gotten it yet. And I've sent them to the website, votetravis.com, where there's a lookup, which is very convenient. I did it on myself because I did the drive-through, drop-off, mail-in ballot. I want to make sure I didn't want to trust the post office. But I have heard from other people who haven't even gotten their ballot back yet after, in one case, it was someone who was well over 65, had been routinely getting it by mail, but hadn't gotten it yet. And then another was one who'd just mailed in the application a month or more ago and hadn't gotten it. So what can people do in that case?
Check the ballot status. Because
on that webpage and check it.
Yeah, on that website, ballot status button. And you'll enter in your name and date of birth, and you can see where your ballot is. If it's left our office, and I have found a couple of people who were concerned about where their ballot was, it had already left our office but hadn't been delivered by the post office yet. And sometimes that gets a little uneven because for the most part, Travis County, we enjoy a 3-day turnaround, and they're pretty predictable. I'm trying to make up for the damage done to them. But there are times when I've seen ballots take 4 or 5 days easily to get there. So I guess what I'm asking for is to check your status, be a little bit patient, because you always have the hand delivery. You don't have to return it. If you get it and you feel like it's too late. So there are options for voters. We just need to keep working it, keep soldiering on.
Dana, can you answer a question for me?
Yes.
This has to do with that 100-foot marker is it from the place of entry into a voting location, or is it, or what is it? Because I've had a couple of people kind of give me hell about it. Not very many. Most of them are very nice, but they give me hell about it that I'm violating the law. And I said, no, I'm way beyond the 100-foot from the entry location.
Yes, the law says it's the 100-foot marker from the entrance door to the building where the polling place is. That 100 feet out. Usually, it's into a parking lot.
Okay, I made a copy of that document, that legal document, or it's in the law, and I'm carrying it with me now, so in case I see it,
That's the best way to fight back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Okay, I saw a question a minute ago, and it was gone before I could totally read it. Does anybody know what I was being asked?
Was that mine?
I think it was either yours or Sandra's. Go ahead, David. Ask.
Yeah, I was just asking. Do you think we're seeing so much early vote and vote by mail? You think election day will be slower with relatively shorter lines than we usually have? And just as a follow on, how are you doing? And I think I asked you a week or so ago about poll workers for Election Day. And I did send out emails to my 100 students trying to get them to become poll workers.
Good. We are, at this point, we're fine for early voting and by mail, but we're still recruiting for Election Day. We're 95% filled. So we've got a little bit more work to do and time to do it. So I still want to hear from folks. We are also processing through the ones that have already sent us either an email or a voicemail and trying to take down that information. I don't know if you've ever had a situation where your voicemail box filled up. It takes a while to get through all those messages.
Oh, yeah.
So we're thrilled, but that's where it all is right now. This is all manual processing.
So do you think the lines will be shorter on Election Day just because everything is shifted so much earlier? I've been a judge with hour-and-a-half lines.
Yeah, I actually don't think so. I think this heavy turnout is going to continue no matter what. And I think we are going to have lines again on Election Day. We've got 178 locations, though. That's a lot of places for people to go for Election Day. So I'm hoping that we'll only see, short lines later in the day when it's, entirely predictable. We'll just have to see. I don't think this is going to quit. I think we're going to have this turnout through the end.
What's your turnout prediction?
Well, if we beat the previous percentage, that puts us at 650,000 people voting by the time this is over. But the calculations of having like 30 to 35,000 people a day early puts us at 600,000 turnout by the end of early voting. So I still think that we're probably going to beat our previous 77% turnout, and it looks like now we may be even more at the current rate, more than 650,000 people voting.
The 80%?
Maybe, because 77 is just a hop and a skip away. So, yeah, 80% turnout. I would not be surprised.
Dana, thank you so much. You and your team have just done, I think, an extraordinary job in this extraordinary year. So thank you so much for all the work you guys have done. Please pass that on.
I really do that. Thank you.
So I know that the legal deadline for somebody to send in or get in an application for vote by mail technically is October the 23rd, right? Is there a more realistic day for them to actually get that to you, for the turnaround to get their ballot and then get the ballot back to you? Or do you know?
Yeah, do not wait until the last day. Get it done within, if this weekend would be nice, or first few days of next week. Don't wait till the 23rd. And if you are requesting a ballot that late in the process, you might want to plan not to put it in the Postal Service. It just puts pressure on them. So you'd have the opportunity to go inside, although there's a better way. If you want to bring your ballot in, you can go to the hand delivery at 5501. Drop it there. The process in the car takes 2 minutes, and it's about a 10-minute wait to get the lines through. So that process is going really, really fast. And if we have to, we can expand it.
Okay, do we have any further questions for Dana? I know you got your hands full, lady, so it's a marvelous job you're doing. It looks like everything is working the way it's intended, and we have no machine problems anymore. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. There was a little first day jitters from a few folks who were having a little bit of trouble with their ballot scanner and didn't realize that all you do is reboot it. They forgot their training. So it was one of those things when you feel really silly when your IT person calls and says, well, have you rebooted? Yeah. That's what's happened to them. So they're all calm now. They've got their procedures all down and their speeds picked up. They're doing great now.
So I've got a question. It looks like Sammy does too.
I just wondered if you were having any trouble with the U.S. Postal Service. As soon as I got my mail-in ballot, the next day we posted it. It was before you could do the drop-off thing. Right. And with all that's gone on with the Postal Service, have you had any problems in that direction?
Right. Well, we've had 31,600 voted ballots already mailed back into us from voters. So we're doing really well with with people coming through the postal system. What worries me is that if they get overloaded, then we can start to see a day or 2 or even 3-day delay, and that does worry me. Their behavior has been really good. Their throughput's been good, but it does get spotty for them from time to time. So, I mean, the reason why we did the hand deliver was to help them, was to help the Postal Service.
Thank you.
One of the things if Dana can just talk about this briefly is, I've been alarmed by that Atlantic article about how Trump's campaign is marshaling at Trump's army, and Donald Trump Jr. issued practically a call to arms.
Absolutely, I saw it.
Bodied people to show up at the polls to make sure there was no election fraud. And we know what they did in 2000 when they sent all these Republican, Capitol Hill staffers down to Florida to intimidate the people who were trying to count the hanging chads and figure out what the actual count was in Florida. So we've had a couple sessions now with Dana and with our county attorney to talk about what can be done to make sure there isn't, actual, visible voter intimidation at polling places, and that we don't have this problem of people showing up and claiming that they're poll watchers and they demand to be allowed in to watch the counting of the vote. So Dana, do you want to just tell them briefly, so that people are armed with the facts, what the law is about claiming that you're a poll watcher and demanding that you have some right to be let in to, monitor the counting of the votes or whatever they're demanding?
I understand. Well, there's no such thing as a self-nominated poll watcher. So just, standing up and trying to walk in the door is going to get you nowhere. And the judges have all been very carefully trained with this so that they can use their authority to maintain the peace and decorum of the polling place. First of all, in order to be a poll watcher, you have to be credentialed. So you're going to be appointed by a candidate, a political party, or perhaps the PAC on an issue item. No more than 2 of any one candidate's party's, PAC representatives can be in the polling place at a time. So there's a limit on how many people you can crowd in there and try to intimidate. We're not letting anybody inside the polling place unless they're a qualified voter, qualified worker, or qualified poll watcher. Once you are a poll watcher, you have to stay for 5.5 hours. There's none of this splitting in and out and creating disturbances. The other thing is that poll watchers are absolutely forbidden to ask questions of, talk to, or in any way interfere with any voter or other poll worker. They are only allowed to speak to the presiding judge. They're allowed to take notes, ask questions, but they cannot, overwhelm the presiding judge by getting them all tied up in something, and then they can't serve the people that they're supposed to take care of. All those tactics will fail. The other thing we've done is we've coordinated with the sheriff's office, APD, and the surrounding cities with their law enforcement. And we've given them the list of all of the early voting locations, where the counting station is at 5501, and then all of the election day polling places so that they can put those on their patrol. We don't want to have a law enforcement presence in these polling places, but if it's on their schedule, then if anybody has a problem and they call it and one of the judges calls for help, law enforcement can be there very quickly. That's what we're hoping for. And here's one last thing. I take this just as seriously as Brigid does. This is most definitely voter intimidation. They, meaning the Republicans, did this 2 years ago, threatened to have a bunch of poll watchers come in and, blah, blah. And it never happened. So what I would say to you is, certainly we recognize that, these people are very determined in what they're trying to do. But in order to have the same effect of scaring people, all you have to do is say you're going to do it on social media. You don't have to carry out the plan at all. So I'm thinking that this is more of a scare tactic and less an actual invasion.
Thanks, Dana. We appreciate everything you're doing.
Let me know if you think I forgot something.
No, you covered it all. I just wanted people to know that we are taking it seriously. We're taking precautions, and we're making sure that everyone knows what the law is. And if someone tries to come in and bully them, they know what their rights are.
Like our judges and alternates have already been advised about what voters' rights are in those kind of circumstances, and what's the judge's authority. And we think we've propped them up, and they're all very clear about what they can do. Anybody else want to ask? So I'm headed over to City Hall right now to participate in a little live interview about where we are with voting, polling places, turnout, all that information that I basically just briefed y'all on. So that'll, I believe that's KBE.
What are your vacation plans for after the election?
Well, the truth is, we're going to have to get past probably a runoff election in December before any of us are going to be able to really take a break. So I may get a weekend in the country, we'll see. But election will be in January. Vacation will be in January.
What is the date of the runoff election?
December 15th?
Please don't hold me to this, but I think it's December the 10th. And I don't have a calendar in front of me, but it's right about then.
Thank you.
Sandra, did I answer all your questions?
Yes, I think so, and I really appreciate your coming today. It's always good to see you, Dana, and I hope you come more often. We are going to be working, I think after this election, we're going to be doing one or two things. Remember that day you stopped by my office and said, should we have a martini to have a pity party or celebrate,
Right.
And I think, we're going to do one or the other.
I'm actually growing more optimistic as the days roll on.
I think so. I am very much encouraged by what's going on. And like I said earlier, it's almost in the air. It's just electric everywhere you go. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think, does anybody else have any questions or want to make any comments?
I'll just say with my professional political scientist hat on, the numbers for the presidency, the U.S. Senate, the Texas House, all look extraordinarily good. I mean, the all there. I'm a little more cynical about winning anything of the statewide.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful for MJ, but a little more cautious on that. But it's and the Railroad Commission and stuff like that. But everything else, this looks like a wave election.
It's looking that way to me too. Thank you, David, for pointing that out, because we get good news almost every day. I just don't want it to unravel people's determination. We're not finished with this.
I mean, there's complacency, or just it'll be the despair of the Trump people who think that assuming when they begin to assume he's going to lose, and them not showing up, the people that think they're winning are likely to be there.
Good. Glad to hear it. So let's not get overconfident at this point. Thank you, David.
Never.
Yeah, that's the one thing we don't want to do is start thinking everything's in the bag, because that just isn't going to happen. David has a campaign that he's running. Would you like to say a little bit about your campaign, David?
Yeah, just briefly. You see my logo, David for Del Valley, with the Mentopolis Bridge behind me. This is a very small campaign. My Del Valley district's about the size of a precinct. So, but I think it's going well. And we just got the biggest endorsement of the campaign from the Del Valley Education Association, which is the teachers union representing the Del Valley teachers. And that should bring the Central Labor Council on board. And we've raised, not a lot of money compared to what you're hearing in bigger races, but probably more money than I'm guessing I've probably raised more money for this race than has ever been raised in a Del Valley school board race. So, which is a tiny number for, compared to other stuff, but we're doing mailers. We've got, the signs have gone up. There should be some texting, and I think there's a very good chance that it can win this for the teachers and students of Del Valley, which is a long ignored part of the county.
Absolutely. And I want to congratulate you on your success so far in your campaign. And Del Valley and the Austin Colony and that whole area on our southeast side has been, I think, immensely ignored. And I'm hoping that momentarily Jeff Travillion can join us to tell us what's going on with the Tesla plant, which will make a big impact in that area. But we working with David and several other people on the south side with the South Alliance?
No, it's SETA.
The club, but it's kind of like hanging on the vine. We got to get that thing moving again.
Yeah, I think that's been a little slow during the pandemic, but everything else is moving along, and it's been an adventure. It's so different, as I'm sure Brigid and others can say, from seeing it from the side of being a candidate and seeing what it's like. I was out last night, putting up the signs along Riverside Boulevard, and I had a hammer, and I kept thinking, if I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the evening. So, it's it's just a different experience. But I'm excited. I think I'm going to win, but it's really hard to know with these down ballot races. And we were talking about that earlier. I am literally at the end of the ballot.
Yes, but you've got to be sure to remind people to go clear to the bottom of the ballot, even though we don't have that was the one problem with having the, Democratic or Republican vote, because people would make that X and leave. And now they have to, I hope, read the whole ballot, and so we might get some more action from that.
So they have to go through the partisan ballot for me. Then they'll see that there's no ACC, but they'll see the city propositions, which are really long and take up a lot of space on the ballot. And then my race, the Del Valley School Board, is the very last thing at the bottom, at the very, very end. Charlie's nodding. I guess it's the same thing for him. Is the very last thing is the school board race, and it's kind of easy for people either not to have any idea who to vote for when they get there, or overlook it, or just so we'll see what happens.
We have some good news, David. The ballot marking device will force you to look at every page.
Exactly.
So voters can't just whip right through to the end. They have to go page by page. And then, of course, their paper trail, too. They have to voter verify, read through it once they get it out on their way to the ballot box. And you might want to tell people that, being first on the list and being last on the list are really great positions. It's easy to check those.
I've told people to vote for every Democrat on the ballot. Start with Joe and come all the way down, and come all the way down to me. And I've also told them that there's a connection between the top and the bottom of the ballot, because as I've described the 2016 election to so many people, it was a failure of civic education. It was for so many people to vote for a president at the top of the ballot who was unqualified to do so. Forget ideology or positions, who was literally unqualified to do the job, to understand and to vote for a reality TV star. To me, that goes back to our educational system and to having to better educate everyone in our society so that they can be, good citizens. and I see the great Jeff Travillion here. So we'll cede to Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, I do. Before Jeff speaks, I would like to give Charlie just an opportunity to take a minute and tell us, a minute now, Charlie, and tell us about your campaign and how it's going for you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it. And I missed one question to Dana because on our spot where we're at, and David confirmed this, it says vote for none, 1, or 2. And I've had several folks call me and say that's confusing. Why do we want to vote for 2? And so it should have just been vote none or 1 on ours. And so anyway, I just wanted to let you know, Dana, that's one of the issues I came up with and complaints from folks. But yeah, I'm running a campaign. It's very expensive. It's cost me right now. We're over $6,500 in expenses. I've had multiple of them paid for already, but I still got a large expense. It's the biggest one I've ever done for a school board campaign. But we got my candidate who is says she's a Democrat, but never seen her in any of our Democrat meetings. I've never seen her here at NETCO, but says she's a Democrat. But she's been endorsed by the no more tax people. So apparently she belongs maybe a little bit more to that group. Anyway, just real quickly, with a 50% Hispanic student population. Now, as a school board trustee, I got to represent everybody, and that's what I'm going to do. But with a 50% Hispanic population, the only Hispanic leaving the school board, not running for re-election, I would like to be the qualified Hispanic to be chosen, elected to serve all students. And so those 50% student population can see that somebody looks like them on this board. We got to talk. If we're going to talk diversity, let's walk the talk. So anyway,
which school board are you running for? Which school district are you running for?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Pflugerville Independent School District. So, but I hope that if you have any friends in Pflugerville ISD, please let them know if they could support me. I am the Pflugerville Education Association. Our union wasn't able to endorse anybody because we're both Democrats. But I think there's been a lot of leaning over towards my side because I will represent our teachers. I will support them. We do not need another retired administrator on the school board, because if we get one, that'll be 4 retired administrators on this school board. I don't believe in that. We need a diversity in their background, their work professional environment they've had. We need a diverse group there. So anyway, I hope I can get it this time, and I'm proud to be proud of our Pflugerville area Democrats. Pat has done a fabulous job with us. I miss coming to the meetings because I'm always wanting to eat, and I wish we could be over there eating in that place.
I agree with you totally, Charlie. I want to get back to our Tres Amigos. I actually went there a couple weeks ago when things had quieted down a little bit with COVID. So I went in the early afternoon when, it was quiet. And they still got that fantastic blue margarita that I had one time that, sent me over the edge. I think that'll be, historic. And it's still good.
So thank you for the time that you gave me. And again, yes, I'm supporting all the Democrats in our races. So Jeff, I've seen your signs. I've straightened out a couple of them. They were kind of leaning over. I don't know, maybe they knocked them over in the wind, but I straightened those out. So I'm helping everybody that I can. But like I said, I go out and talk to the folks in line, and I've had just a handful, 3 or 4 people just give me hell about it, saying I'm doing this wrong. I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm violating the law. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm 100 feet away from that entrance. And so, but had a lot of good responses from folks. So I'm real confident this is going to work. So thank y'all so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Charlie. And I want to make a quick mention of a new tactic that's being used. And it is talking to people in the line. And what you do is it's called triple forward. And what you do is you tell that person who just voted to go tell 3 other people to come vote. And it works. It actually creates turnout. But you have to make them commit to do it. And if you can actually get them to use their cell phone and call it while you're standing there, that's even better. And that's not new. We did that way back in the Obama campaign up in Iowa back in 2008. But it's something that kind of fell by the wayside. So, we need to do it now. Just stop right there and say, have you voted? Yes. Okay, go call 3 people. Yeah, I see it.
Right, that is really great. Good idea, Sandra. Charlie, Commissioner Shea, and Commissioner Travillion, it's always good to see you. How are you doing?
Always good to see you. Doing well, doing well.
I'm going to need to sign off here so I can run down to City Hall. Commissioner Travillion can take over actually after me.
Yeah, well, he's got plenty to say, I hope. Go ahead, Trev.
We want to listen to it. Please forgive me. I'm going to run do my next thing.
Well, thank you for all the hard work that you've been providing.
Thank you for the support. Y'all have been the commissioners have been fabulous. All right, y'all. Bye.
All right.
Hi, Dana, and welcome, Jeff. Go ahead.
Okay, now I'll say good morning, and I'll ask you how much you want me to talk about, because I'm Baptist now. I'll talk a long time about anything.
I do know that, but I want to hear what's going on, A, with your campaign, and B, what's happening with Tesla and down in the southeast quadrant there. So tell us what's happening.
Okay. We're working hard at the campaign. We have gotten a lot of our signs out. But if anybody would like a sign, I will create a drop-off point, and maybe we can pass some of the signs over to you. We have been working with the coordinated campaign. And just doing everything that we can to make sure that we are taking every opportunity to talk about issues that are important to Travis County. It's been a little disheartening that my opponent, we've only met one time, and that was at the Austin American Statesman's editorial board. He has accepted the invitation to several groups to debate issues, and each time has decided not to attend. We just want to make sure that we are talking about the issues that are important to the community. I think that they fall in 2 or 3 categories. One category is how do we make sure that we keep children safe who are being forced back in school. We know that we don't have enough access to Wi-Fi. We know that students need to be fed and expect and should have 2 meals a day in the public space. But it's going to be really important that we protect teachers and make sure that we have adequate PPE and to make sure that we are putting a model process in place so that we can keep as many children as safe as we can. We know that one reason that we got to 50% separation or 50% isolation in our communities was keeping our schools closed. And I fear that without following adequate CDC protocols, then we will see a big spread again, and it will probably. We noticed the last 2 weeks the spread has been going up, and we're concerned that it's going to spike even more as we have more kids go back. So we've been doing a couple of things. We've asked Dr. Escott to work with us and plan a strike team. We call it a strike team. We've started with 2 schools to try to put the protocols in place. One is going to be Barbara Jordan. We are working with the Colony Park Neighborhood Association, with Central Health, and with the Community Resiliency Team to work on Barbara Jordan. We have been working with Austin Voices to stand up the Dove Springs Elementary School. It is a part of what used to be the Austin Project. We just met a group last week. We asked them to do a donation of PPE in DeSoto County, and they did, and they enjoyed it actually. So now they've reached out to me again, and they're going to provide 250 complete sets of PPE so that teachers and all staff will have them at both schools. So 250 sets at Jordan, 250 sets at Dove Springs. If this pilot works out well, then we'll try to figure out how we expand this to more Title I schools. So
That's excellent, excellent.
well, we just think that it is important that we protect our teachers. My parents taught for 40 years, and I would be very concerned if they were teaching and there was a new virus, the virus that killed over 200,000 people, and we're still forcing people back in. That is not the path that I would choose. But we're going to work as hard as we can to protect as many people as we can in the meantime. And Brigid, you wanted to mention something there?
Well, I really just want to chime in and say we get a briefing every Tuesday at 10, so people want to get the latest update from Dr. Escott. It's every Tuesday at 10 a.m. during the Commissioners Court meetings, or maybe 10:30. But Jeff has been an absolutely untiring advocate for better provision of health care in his precinct. I don't know if people were aware of this, but at the beginning of the outbreak, Central Health closed the clinics on the Eastern Crescent. And they said, we didn't have enough people coming in the door. We didn't have enough nurses, didn't have enough PPE. Well, they didn't close them on the west side of the county. And Jeff has been an absolute, literally tireless advocate for reopening those clinics, getting more health care provided for those communities. Huge advocate for an African-American-led mobile testing site, which finally got funded, and has pushed every Tuesday for more resources and a program to help out the Title I schools with this kind of strike force that he's just mentioned. So I just want people to know I'm a witness. I've been there every Tuesday, and every week he pushes the public health director to do more, particularly in these communities that are hardest hit. We have the highest rates of infection and death in the Black and Hispanic communities, and it's completely unacceptable. So I just want to tell you what a fabulous advocate Jeff has been on all these issues. It's not just him saying it. I'm a witness. He's doing it every week and in between times. So I'm a huge Jeff fan, if you haven't noticed.
Well, so am I, and that's why I wanted to keep him as my commissioner. It's an absolute imperative as far as I'm concerned. So, Jeff, you got all our support, and if you need anything, just give a holler. We all appreciate everything that Jeff does, and I think he puts his whole life into this effort, and we want you to know we appreciate it. We really do.
Well, I appreciate you all. That there's nothing better than working with your neighbors and your friends to build better opportunities for your children and your grandchildren. And I have to say that you couldn't have a better colleague than Brigid Shea on the Commissioners Court. And one of the reasons that they listen to us is that they know that we have 3 or 4 people. Certainly 3 or 4 people who have the same types of sensibilities, and they know that we will use every bit of influence and authority that we have to serve our community. That is why you sent us there. You sent us there to be your voice, and that's why it's so important that we come here to understand what the priorities are. Whether we're talking about school and health, whether we're talking about central health. Providing the types of resources that they need in the areas that need them most. I am much less interested in rebuilding Brackenridge as a monument than I am in making sure that we build the clinics in our communities that serve our people in the neighborhoods that they live in. It's important that we let them know what our priorities are. It's important. You would be amazed at how much a one paragraph note telling them that I need this, or where is the COVID testing site, or where can I get influenza shots, or where can I get shingles shots will mean. I have seen 25 people walk into commissioner's court and change the vote on a $70 million project. So it's important that we make our voices known. You empower us by giving us the information that we need to serve you. So, when you tell us about schools, we'll respond. When you tell us about Central Health, we'll respond. One thing that we think we've been responding to is access to jobs and access to training in this community. I think that Tesla it was a huge win for our region. We took a brownfield that you would get $64,000 worth of taxes over the next 10 years. And because of Tesla's investment, that property, after every incentive is considered, will still render the county $8 million over that same 10-year period. So we invested 1.8 million in the local workforce board, and connected the local workforce board to Tesla so that they will be talking about the types of jobs that will be available. We know that 5,000 jobs are going to be available, are going to be created over the next couple of years. But the more important point is more than half of them will be semi-skilled jobs, which means that you won't have to have a college diploma to get them. So we want to talk about the jobs that will be available, where to get training. Del Valle Independent School District will have access to some of those training opportunities. Their teachers will have the opportunity to do externships and get training from Tesla. We want to make sure that students are aware that they can work either with at Del Valle or at the local workforce board. We want to make sure that when these jobs become available, that our community is prepared to take advantage of them. We want to make sure that we continue to attract. What we found is that because Tesla's there are now 4 or 5 other companies that support Tesla that want to come, and they're not asking for tax deals. They just want to be close to the new economic opportunity. That 3 or 4 of them will produce 1,000 jobs apiece. So it's important that we make sure that if we can move people into the manufacturing areas, and we can move them into high training, high skilled trades where they get their OSHA 10, where they get their OSHA 30, where they're able to become plumbers or pipe fitters or electricians. All of those skills will be necessary, and it's important for us to connect the dots. We've put the resources in place to do that, and it just takes us reaching out to the folks that we know and making them aware that there are jobs that will move folks to the middle class.
And if I can add a sentence, getting HEB in there to address the food desert is going to be so important. And if we can get ACC to build on their land out there, their workforce center that they committed to years ago that they bought the land, those I think would be huge in that area.
We'll be pushing hard.
I'm going to be pushing ACC.
And Brigid, I think there was something that you wanted to say.
Yeah, and I wanted to address something that came up during the campaign for county judge, because somebody sent out a very inaccurate attack on Jeff and me, claiming that we were somehow pushing to lower the wage for the restaurant workers out there, which was ridiculous, and it was false. We were both working very hard to push the wages up, and in fact, the restaurant workers did get the same floor wage that Tesla committed to for everyone else. So the claim was just patently false. But the county process has been different from the city with these economic development agreements. And so I'm bringing an amendment later this month that will adopt essentially the city's requirement for posting, so that there's a full agreement posted online publicly, at least 2 meetings and 2 public hearings prior to any vote on it. There was a lot of good stuff in that agreement, but the Travis County policy was that they negotiated it and then made it available for the meeting where the vote would happen, but it didn't give people enough time to really understand what was in it. And there was a lot of fear, I think, as a result, because the agreement wasn't made public in sufficient time for people to read all of what was in it. And so we'll be taking that up at the end of October, and it will essentially mirror the city's language. So you've got a full process for real transparency. The other two provisions that I'm bringing amendments on are, one is that we make mandatory, which I thought we already had, but this will reinforce mandatory compliance with what is the county's version of the Better Builder program. Because that's a trademark name, the county has to call their program the Travis County Construction Compliance Program. But what it does is build in the protections from the Better Builder program for the employees, so that they are, it's mandatory that they get water breaks. You'd think that that would be, just basic common sense anyway, but there was a growing problem of workers not getting sufficiently hydrated and having all kinds of health crises on the job. So it mandates practices that protect worker safety. So mandatory water breaks, mandatory pay. So you can't claim in your application for the job that you're going to be paying these wages, but then stiff the workers, later down the line. So it's got a lot of worker protection in it, and particularly worker safety provisions. And so that's another amendment I'll be bringing. And the third one is on wage benchmarking. I think that we should, anytime a company is coming in and asking for any kind of special treatment or economic incentives, that they should be paying the going wage for that industry. And the wage for the auto industry in Texas is higher. And I think Tesla's ultimately going to have to pay higher wages just to get the workers that they want. But I want this to be part of what we are doing as a standard practice with any future economic development, which is where we benchmark and we at least know what is the state wage for the state enterprise fund participation. What is the industry wage for like industries elsewhere in Texas? And I think that'll give us a better bargaining position for any company that comes in the future and wants some kind of incentive. But I mean, in general, I think Travis County's been very frugal about these things. We actually placed a moratorium on them after the legislature put revenue caps in place and handcuffed our ability to raise a budget to provide basic services. So we said, we're putting a moratorium on economic development deals, then we can't afford to give away any of our revenue to a company. And the Chamber of Commerce came and argued that, testified, we shouldn't be doing that. We should continue to give away these economic incentives. And I asked the representative from the Chamber of Commerce, well, what was your position on revenue caps? Where did you come down at the legislature on revenue caps? Because the Dallas Chamber of Commerce came out against them, and the Austin Chamber of Commerce had nothing to say because they didn't take a position. They were not helpful on that whole issue of having resources for governments to provide basic services. Anyway, we're generally very frugal about it, but I think these amendments will be a great process improvement to create greater transparency so people have the knowledge and the confidence about what we're considering doing with companies. Again, we're limited in how often we do it. It's got to be a really good deal.
And that's the really important point, that we are looking at our processes and trying to continuously improve them. The way that we did some of this, and I think that a way to, one of the doors that we can use to address it is the disparity study that we're participating in this year. We entered what we call Davis-Bacon wages, and Davis-Bacon wages identify the wages for that opportunity and that market. We tied those to the city of Austin's market. We tied those to the Austin Independent School District model. If I'm not mistaken, David, we did it at ACC as well, and we'll come back through and try to make sure that we apply those to the county. I think that it's going to be really important that when we start talking about wages and processes, we're going to have to better engage the Chamber of Commerce over time, because they did whiff on helping us at the legislature, where Dallas was bold, and I think Houston was as well. At the end of the day, what our argument is, if we have been growing at a rate of 5% for more than a decade, and you artificially tie us to 3.5% with no reason other than you want to punish Austin, somebody's got to take a stand against that. Because if they tie us to an artificial rate, then we will not be able to support and sustain the type of growth in the places around this region that we have been seeking to. And we sought to shut down the program until the business community said, hey, we'll work with you. Because what we said was, if we don't have the money to bond, or if we don't have the money in our budget to build, then it's going to cost you jobs. It's going to cost members of your chamber jobs. And therefore, we either work together or you just let it drop then. Brigid, you were...
And I wanna add another little tidbit on this whole story. Celia talked very powerfully earlier about wanting to have a governor that represents the whole state instead of just catering to the most extreme wing of the Republican Party. All throughout those Tesla discussions, because they were also looking at other possible locations, the Tesla people told us Governor Abbott repeatedly urged them not to come to Travis County. Said, you'll hate Travis County. They'll attach too many requirements. They'll be too difficult to work with. Don't go there. Go anywhere. Go to Bastrop County. Go to Williamson County. Go to Hayes County. Go anywhere but Travis County. And yet they continually take credit for the job creation that that our community is supporting, particularly in technology and in clean energy and that whole arena. But they continually work against us and try and hurt us because we're a Democratic stronghold. And I just think that's the kind of petty, small-minded, frankly, kind of hateful behavior that people can't stand. When all those yard signs say "Vote Hate Out," that's what they're talking about.
The irony was, though, even more than it was management that wanted to be here, the employees wanted to be here. When you talk to the groups, when you talk to the project managers, when you talk to the people who were responsible for jobs, they said, I love Austin and I wanted it. It's my first choice if we can get there. So that I think it's important. And there were some people that took a few swipes at me during the process. But I believe that we try to make the decisions that are going to provide the greatest opportunity for the greatest number of people. And if we do that, we are true to what we've been called to do. And if somebody is going to, who I thought was an ally, is going to oppose me because I'm going to do something I think is best, or that I understand to be what's best, or do what they tell me to do, well, they weren't my friend anyway. And I'm not trying to listen to them. We're trying to build our community. So I've told my wife I was not going to say any cuss words. So I'm going to stop right there.
Okay, and I thank you very much, Jeff. And I want to tell you that we have, between Brigid and yourself, we have the best commissioners in the whole state of Texas. Thank you very much for doing what you do. I appreciate it. And our time is coming to an end. So I will thank you all for being here today. Our next meeting will probably be celebration, okay? In November. And I am going to try to plan something special. I'm going to be working very hard on it. So I thank you for being here today. And you had one more thing, Jeff?
One more thing. We're working real hard to bring Operation Turkey into Precinct 1.
What is it?
We do. Operation Turkey is a group that bakes turkeys and gets Thanksgiving dinners for families who can't afford it. So
wow.
we're going to be partnering with Central Texas Food Bank. We're going to be partnering with, and Brigid, I'm going to have to talk to you because I'm trying to put them over at the Expo Center because it's not being used. And that'll be the place of distribution for families for the whole region. So I will, we're just about there.
Let us know if you need volunteers. That'd be
we will. But we're just about there with all the agreements. So.
Oh, that's fabulous. And Sandra, I just want to thank you for all the great work that you're doing, organizing and, whipping out the vote within this area. And one thing you might consider is getting the recipe for that great blue margarita that you like so much and sending that out as part of the next meeting so we can all hopefully raise a toast.
I'm a margaritologist, so now we can talk about this. I might be able to beat that blue margarita. Let's work on that.
You can have a choice. Yay.
That's the deal. That's the deal. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the meeting now, and I'll see y'all after the election.
All right.
All right. Good luck to y'all. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
2 days.
I voted for you, Charlie.